brings locally heavy rainfall to southern and eastern Texas, with rainfall today and into the weekend of upwards of 5 to even 10 inches for especially southern and eastern Texas. Watch for localized flash flooding as a result of that heavy rain, especially across interior Texas. There's a risk of severe weather today across the Corn Belt and the northern plains into Minnesota and Wisconsin. Scattered thunderstorms for the Four Corners region as well. Back through the Rockies, monsoonal downpours today for parts of Arizona, New Mexico, and western Texas. Above average temperatures for the plains today. Generally nice weather in the northeast. A few thunderstorms for the mid-Atlantic for today. The weather looks nice for the far west with generally dry weather for Washington and California. That's your national weather forecast. Mike Ellis, NBC News Radio.
Joe Fitzgerald writes on the front page of today's Woonsocket Call from Cumberland that the Cumberland Planning Department is proposing a conservation and management plan for the Albion landfill that includes an option to reuse the 51-acre site along the Blackstone River as a solar farm to offset the cost of permanently remediating, capping, and closing the former dump. The town council got its first look at that 5-year plan last week, but voted to table it on a decision to adopt the document until its meeting in August. The vote to table came after council members Scott Schmidt and Lisa Beaulieu raised concerns over that part of the plan that calls for the town to create a separate lot consisting of the remediated and capped area and then rezone the lot to allow a much higher lot coverage than 20% allowed in the town's current solar zoning ordinance. You can read all the details in today's Woonsocket Call. 18 people are facing a federal indictment accusing them of conspiring to traffic in opioids in the Worcester, Massachusetts area. 8 of those charged in the superseding indictment had previously been charged in the case. Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocketradio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on ON Radio. It is Coffee Ann time on Friday morning. It's July 24th. My name is Joe Callahan. Welcome in. Dave Richards is here. Good morning, Dave.
I can vouch for that. His name is Joe Callahan.
Yes, it is.
I've seen the ID, folks. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, everybody. Lovely day.
And joining us via the phone, Dave,
yes,
is Woonsocket Police Chief,
our special guest,
Thomas Oates. And good morning to you, Chief.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Dave.
Hey, good morning, Chief. My goodness, it's good to hear your voice again. How are things going for you?
Things are going well, thanks.
Excellent. Now, normally we set it up that the chief is going to be here in studio.
Yeah.
But we got the message last night. Something has happened at the police station with one of the officers that said, well, Chief said, maybe it'd be a better idea if I called in by phone. And it looks like one of his officers, for the first officer, has been diagnosed with COVID-19. Is that all correct, Chief?
Yeah, that's right, Joe. One of my officers about 7 to 10 days ago came down with the symptoms were, unfortunately, testing is so backed up that he actually did not get the results back until yesterday. Fortunately, he's gone through the worst of it. He didn't have to be hospitalized. He had the regular symptoms with the high fever and loss of taste and some of the other things that went along with it, and obviously not feeling well. Mm-hmm. But nothing to the point that he required hospitalization. So we're grateful for that. I texted him last night. He's on the mend, and hopefully he'll be back soon.
Well, Chief, this just shows that the systems you have in place are right. First of all, how do you protect the officers from getting it in the first place? Well, you do your best, but nothing's ironclad. They got to interact with the public to do their job, and so somebody could be carrying and not know it, and then the cop gets it. What are you going to do? There's nothing's going to be foolproof. But obviously, as soon as the officer detected any symptoms, they're out, and they take the test, and everybody else is on protocols to make sure that nobody else comes down with the thing. I think that's outstanding, sir.
Thanks. Yeah, Dave. They've done a great job. We've been very fortunate. You're right. You only do the best that you can do. But as far as we've been rigorously cleaning the building, we were lucky enough to pick up a piece of equipment that I actually bought last year for flu season, which disinfects rooms. So we've been using that continuously, and the just the officers themselves, the hands washing, wearing the mask, wearing gloves when the case may be. But you're right, there are cases, unfortunately, where they come into contact and they do have to actually fight people at different times who are combative, people with mental issues, people who are intoxicated or on drugs, and they're at risk. And their big concern, most of the officers, like anything else, are not worried about themselves, but they're worried about taking it home to their families.
Of course. And if they have, we had an employee here who they didn't care if they got it. Well, of course they cared, but I mean, it wasn't for them, but they had a family member who was compromised because of a recent condition. And they said, if I bring it home and they get it, this could be fatal for them.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, this is what's happening as we see throughout the country. There's a group of people, especially some of the younger people, that aren't taking the danger of it seriously, not much worried about themselves, but they're really being selfish, not thinking about who else they can infect that would really have devastating results if they were to get it.
Now, Chief, since you have your first officer to come down with COVID-19, does that step up the testing of the other officers in the department?
No, there's a protocol that we've been following right from the beginning. We were all offered asymptomatic testing, which a number of our officers did. In fact, just last week we were offered, and I participated in it as well as a number of officers, to go actually have a serology test to see if we had come in contact with it, or if we do have the antibodies. So we're following all the protocols and doing what needs to be done, and we're just hoping for the best.
Okay,
hey, Joe. A friend of ours. It's funny. Diamond Dallas, DDP, the wrestlers.
Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah, but I never use his last name. So
okay,
we just call him D.
Okay.
All right. So DDP. Anyway, he's in Atlanta. He has a gym.
Yes.
As soon as this hit, he shut it right down.
Yeah.
You heard about this guy over in Oxford that was fighting.
Yeah.
No, he shut it down right away. And you remember that Georgia was one of the early states to open up under some controversy.
Yeah.
He didn't open up.
No, he didn't.
He still ended up with it.
Yeah.
His daughter went to a bridal shower and picked it up there and brought it home to him.
Okay.
That's just what you're saying, Chief, right?
Yeah. You don't know where it's coming from.
Right. I mean, here he was being so careful. Making sure he didn't contribute to anybody else and that nobody else was going to get at his place, using every protocol. And his daughter goes to a bridal shower. Well, you go to a bridal shower, you don't always know everybody there. She picks it up, brings it home, he's got it.
Now he's got it.
Yeah, and so, people got to take it seriously.
Okay, well, so now this officer is he quarantined now? Does he stay quarantined for 14 days? And when can he come back to the police?
He's been out long enough right now. I mean, right now, we will follow the protocols. I follow Fire Chief Shatra, who's really got more of an expertise in this from the EMS side. So later this morning, I texted him last night, told him I'd be in contact with him this morning. But, it's normally 2 weeks. There's a time period where you come back where he's no temperature. He has not run a temperature now for a period of days. So there's a lot of indicators, and we'll just make sure we check all the boxes before he comes back to work to make sure everybody's safe.
All right, very good.
Well, best of luck on that, Chief.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, one of the big things going on in the city, Chief, and I'm hearing a lot of talk about it, especially from business owners, is this car show that took place on Diamond Hill Road last weekend, and we're
there was supposed to be a concert last night, but it got canceled by rain.
At the plaza?
No. I'm sorry. You said Diamond Hill. I was thinking Diamond Hill Park in Cumberland.
Oh no, Diamond Hill Road.
Right. There are events going on.
Yeah. Chief, do you know that are these private car show events? Are the police made aware that these things are coming into the city?
First of all, they're not sanctioned. Secondly, we had in this last one, we had no communication with anyone from that organization. There's two young men, both from Woonsocket, that have taken the lead in this. We're not happy. We're not happy about it.
Okay.
I know their intentions may be good, but the disruption that they cause, no matter what they tell, they were very upset, and this last one from the behavior of some of the people that attended it. But as we told them before in prior conversations when we were able to convince them to stop it last year, that they could not control it, and that the drain on our resources. We called back over 4 extra officers on overtime to try and deal with it, the public safety aspect of the crowding, and then the comings and goings of those vehicles, especially late at night, the disruptions to the neighborhood. Since then, I've been in contact with the mall owner at Walnut Hill Plaza, who's very, very cooperative, was very upset, had no idea it was going on. They're going to take what legal action they can. We've been in contact with some of the other mall people that control that too, and they've taken the same stance. We've reached out to this young man for the last several days to ask him to come in and speak with us. He has not returned any of our phone calls. So we're working on it. We don't condone it. We're not happy about it. We don't take it lightly. We realize, at one point it was discussed, and they brought up that it was good for some of the commerce that was up there. But then, from my understanding, some of the commerce just said it's just so out of control in the way that you've got people coming in using the restroom facilities, not really buying food, not really buying product, blocking parking lots. So it becomes so disruptive. It's certainly not worth the minor financial gain that you get for that evening. And then, especially now, the issue is just as we talked about before.
People,
right, exactly. They all come in cars, but they all get out of their cars.
Yeah.
And then they all go into the whatever particular restroom or restaurant or whatever it is. So it's something that we're working through right now. The solicitor's office has been involved. The mayor's office has obviously been involved, and the public safety director. So we're coming up with the best solution we can. We understand the intentions. All of them may have been good, but it is not something that's workable right now at this time, and it should not be going on.
So what it sounds like, Chief, is that these organizers of these car shows are not even contacting the owners of the plaza. And
that's correct.
And so they're just sending it out via probably social media. Hey, we're all going to get together on this day at this time and come on down.
This is the problem which makes it so uncontrollable.
Yeah.
Social media, putting it out there, hey, we're all meeting here. I mean, when I was in Providence, they had problems with flash mobs at Providence Place Mall where someone puts out, hey, we're all going to show up at such and such a time. And it happens so quick. It happens so quickly, and it goes out to so many people. Even nowadays, that's one of the problems with, when you and I were kids. If you had a party, you had to call people up, and it took days to arrange a house party.
Sure.
Now, you put it out on social media, you think you're going to have a house party with maybe 20 of your friends, and 250 show up. So this is a problem that we're working through.
Has it been explained to him that that he really needs to go before the city council to get a permit of some sort to run something like this?
He, on the first go around, when we spoke to him, we explained that that it's private property, and they technically don't need a permit to go before the city council because it is private property.
Oh,
so
okay.
If those landowners, if the property owner wanted to let them do it, he could do it, and there wouldn't be a permit required. There'd certainly be a question in this day and age with the governor's orders as far as gatherings. So that would be an issue, but that's not an issue about them needing. They don't need a permit, but they're not authorized and not sanctioned to be to using those properties, and those owners are planning on taking legal action to notify them of that going forward. So we're hoping that they're responsible young men. I mean, they were very nice to deal with the last time, so hopefully they do the right thing and act responsibly. I mean, it's not fair to the residents of Woonsocket that will have to deal with some of the irresponsible activity of some of the comings and goings of those people coming to and from. I mean, there's people coming from Massachusetts, there's people coming from Connecticut, they're from all over. It's not like it's a local group of people taking advantage of, going to the plaza and sitting around and getting a hamburger at McDonald's.
Right. Wow, okay. Did they say that they're planning to do another one? I don't know if they would even tell you ahead of time of something like that.
As I told you, Joe, we've reached out 3 times.
That's right. You haven't talked to them.
Under the circumstances, you figure that
Woonsocket Police Department is the last group of people they'll tell.
Yeah. Did you get?
But we monitor social media like everybody else does.
Yeah.
I mean, and we'll do the best with what we get with Heads Up. I mean, a lot of the protests that we had, we were not notified on them. We saw it on social media, but then reached out to the organizers, and they were good. They came in and they sat with us because the idea is if it's something that we can control safely, and the numbers are not that big. We'll do the best we can to allow people to do to have a good time or to express themselves. But you need to do it with us, and if we say it's not reasonable, it's not responsible, and it's not good for public safety and overall in general, then you should listen to us.
Did the police department get overwhelmed with calls on this past weekend about this car show?
We received a number of calls. Yes.
Yeah. Saying, hey, what's going on?
we addressed it with the on-duty officers and then called back 4 officers and put them there. But when you've got 2,000 people, if I had 100 officers there, I wouldn't have been able to do what really needed to be done.
Sure. And now all your officers are over there, and it's being neglectful of the rest of the city.
Well, this was going on, and that's the problem. We still had other calls for service. Everything from our routine disturbances to our traffic crashes to medical issues. So yeah, it takes away from the potential of service that's needed in other places.
And the cost of bringing in these officers.
You're exactly right.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break on the Coffee AM program right now. And if you have any comments or questions, especially for Woonsocket Police Chief Thomas Oates, give us a call, 766-1240, or email it in to coffee@woonsocketradio.com. Riverfront Patio Dining awaits you at River Falls Restaurant. Enjoy your lunch or dinner as you overlook the Blackstone River. Here are some of the wonderful items on the menu: steak and peppers pizza, baked stuffed haddock, and choice filet mignon. Make your River Falls Restaurant reservations today by calling 401-235-9026. 235-9026, or go online to riverfallscomplex.com. You'll love the Riverfront Patio Dining at River Falls Restaurant, Market Square, Woonsocket.
Have you had it with poor service? When was the last time you were treated like a valued customer where you bank? Navigant Credit Union feels you should be treated better than a customer. When you go to Navigant, you're treated like a friend and a member of the family, because that's just what you are at Navigant Credit Union. When you're a member of Navigant Credit Union, you're a part owner of the whole place. And that's a big difference between the big banks and Navigant Credit Union. And it's a difference you can feel, too, every time you walk in. Visit Navigant Credit Union today at any one of their many Rhode Island locations and see what it's like to be appreciated. Navigant Credit Union. Member NCUA.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee in Pawtucket. They're a 62-year-old family business that roasts all its coffee right here in Rhode Island. Founded originally as Excellent Coffee Company, they provide great coffee to food service establishments throughout New England.
ON Radio, ON Worldwide.
And it is Coffee In on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. This is Joe Callahan here with Dave Richards. And on the phone is Woonsocket Police Chief Thomas Oates. Still with us, Chief?
Yes, I am, Joe.
Excellent. Now, we did have a note that's been written in to coffee@woonsocketradio.com, and it just basically says, well, Chief, you're in contact with the mayor on either a daily basis or every other day basis. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. We got a call in maybe a week or so ago about this, and they just say if the chief could bring this up to the mayor, that would be wonderful. And they're looking for another RIPTA bus stop along Park Avenue.
Right.
The only one is at Park Square, and so they say there used to be a RIPTA bus stop near Blakely Street, I believe, and
No, all along Park Avenue.
Oh, okay.
See, they had alternating during drive times, during the busy times of the day. They had a number 54 bus that was called an express. It didn't make all the stops that all the others, but it made different stops. It didn't go out Providence Street south out of the city. It went out Park Avenue south out of the city and made a limited number of stops to get to Kennedy Plaza, and took, I'm guessing, 10 to 15 minutes less time to get there.
Okay.
Because it was called an express. They eliminated the number 54 express. And the number 54, which always went out Providence Street and made a lot of extra stops anyway, just continued on. So that was a cost-cutting move by RIPTA. It'd be really nice to have that back again so that we had something going on here on Park Avenue. I know that the state thinks that the only entrance and egress out of Woonsocket is not Park Avenue. I can tell you, and you know, just by looking at the figures, I'm sure, Chief, that Park Avenue probably carries just as much traffic as the others.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, that's a RIPTA issue. They make those decisions for financial reasons. And then on top of that, I know they scaled back some routes when this COVID was going on due to limiting the amount of people on buses.
Well, this was taken out 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, then, I mean, I'll certainly, if you forward me that email, I'll certainly forward it to the mayor's office, and I'm certain that they'll follow up. But, again, keep in mind, we can make requests, but that RIPTA is a state agency or quasi-agency that makes their own decisions on how they operate.
All right. On another subject, Chief, and you may decline to comment on it, and that's certainly your choice. But we hear stories, around the country, different states, different cities. They're forming these task groups about defunding the police, and we got to have police reform. And from what I've read on these organizations, it never seems to have anyone from the police department on these committees of how we should reform the police. Has anyone ever reached out to you and say, "Well, we need to have reforms for the police, Chief. So, Chief, we want you on the board to discuss this"?
No, they haven't. And,
okay.
I mean, this is what's new in the political wind right now. That's the new buzzword, defund the
Sure.
When you ask people what exactly that means, there's people who can't give you any answer to people who give you a number of different answers. There's a group of people that believe that all we do is respond to places and make a decision whether someone needs to be arrested or not arrested, and then we move on.
Right.
Actually, 90% of our activity is more in the helping aspect of it, the social work aspect of it, everything to do from mental health issues to helping people that are broken down, to car crashes, to all these other things. I have to say, in this city, the mayor is an adamant supporter of the police department. Mm-hmm. The council have been adamant supporters of the police department. I have not heard, and I know that they have gotten some emails from people, but usually some of these emails you see are some coming from Chicago, some coming from someone in Boston, trying to decide what's best for here in Woonsocket. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate all the support that the department has gotten from the mayor and her administration and the council and those folks. And for every person that's out there, I mean, in this environment, it's been very difficult for police officers who do a good job. And they really care about, especially here in Woonsocket, they really care about the city and love the people in the city. And even with the protests that we've had here, which have been respectful and have been orderly on some issues, and that's great. They have that right to do that, and that's great. But more and more people have come up to me during these times saying, "Hey, we appreciate you. We appreciate what you and the police department do." So, that's the thing. Something horrible happened in another part of the country. Don't try and make it that it's the same area here. This is Woonsocket, Rhode Island. Let's look at what's in our backyard. Are we perfect? Could we make improvements on things as far as the police department or as a city? Everyone, I'm sure, could. Mm-hmm. I'm sure could. But we're not in the same situation that you look at some of the national footage of what's going on in Portland and other places.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Mm-hmm. Chief, I've talked to basically the younger people in their 20s, and they just have a different mindset right now. And then some people, they're firm believers in this defund the police kind of thing, and their attitude is of what they think the police should be doing. And their response is the police should be there to investigate crimes, and that's about it. And they think you're not there to stop crime. And so I use this as an example. I said, so if the police drive by and they see 3 guys with drawn guns ready to go into a bank, the police should not do anything because it looks like they're going to go rob the bank, but they haven't robbed the bank yet, so no crime's been committed. So therefore, the police shouldn't do anything. And the person I'm speaking to says that's exactly correct. The police need to wait until a crime has actually been committed. I said, I don't agree with that. What do you say to something like that?
So we wait until someone gets shot before we take the gun away from someone who's going to shoot them. I mean,
that's their thinking right now.
Well, it's just not logical. And here, for example, from July 1st to July 5th, which was the 4th of July weekend, obviously, in that time period, we responded to close to 900 calls for service. Mm-hmm. Everything from we were inundated with fireworks calls.
Right.
We had, out of those calls, over 140 of them were fireworks calls. Mm-hmm. Examples on that call alone, too. We were getting all these calls for that. We respond to it. There's a group of people that were there that would be adversarial to us, saying that why are you bothering us? Why are you doing this? It's only fireworks. It's only that. You know, we follow the law and we enforce whatever the legislature and whatever the law is. Mm-hmm. But out of those 800, 900 calls for service, we're there helping people. We're there helping people or responding to complaints, and that's not counting what officers ran into alone on the street. If we're not there, who's going to do that? Who's going to come to your house when you have a child, that's missing, or you're in a car crash? Mm-hmm. Who's going to handle those things?
Well, they want the police to handle, things like missing children and like that. But in the case where we have the people that are about to go into the bank, their thinking is we need to have almost like an offshoot of the police department, and they, for lack of a better word, they're calling them peace officers, and those are the people that need to be called before the crime takes place. It's almost like social workers, and they need to go over to talk to these three gentlemen that are about to rob the bank.
Right, make them think about it, give them a timeout.
Basically, yes,
right.
And they think that's going to correct the action. And I'm like, I said, wow, that just blows my mind that you think like this.
Yeah, that's nice if you live in utopia, but if you live in the real world, you know that's not going to happen.
Well, that's right. And then I'm worried about, well, one, how are you going to find these people going to go there? And maybe you will find somebody, but as soon as one person gets shot, the whole thing is going to end. And you'll never find anybody that's going to go over there and do that kind of work.
No. Hey, it's great. I'd love to live in a world like that. That even as far as police officers, that they cut our calls for service, and they have, you hear the calls for, we'll just replace police officers with social workers.
Yeah.
When that mentally disturbed person, that's fine, and it'd be great. And we get a lot of calls for, an out of control 6-year-old, an out of control 8-year-old, or whatever it is. That would be great if we could have a social worker go to that instead of us. But right now, we do have social workers, people from CCA that ride with us and go to these calls and do those type things. It's part of the opioid addiction. We go with mental health medical groups and try and follow the people who have overdosed to see if we can get them into programs. That's part of a state program that we're partnering with. So there's a lot of things police are doing in partnership with other people to get this done. But the people doing that work need protection.
Sure.
What is a social worker going to do if the person who's having the mental health episode at 11 o'clock at night is a 35-year-old 6-foot man with a machete?
Mm-hmm.
Are they gonna be the ones that are going to disarm him if that needs to come to that?
No, they probably wouldn't even know how to.
Right, exactly. So I mean, it's great, and it's nice to put all these conversations on the table, and we're willing to listen to anything that's reasonable.
Sure.
Things change, but I think a lot of people don't see how much policing has evolved in the years. I mean, years ago, I started well over 45 years ago. There was no interaction where social workers would be riding in a car, or a domestic violence advocate, or someone that would be out riding with you looking for someone to help that had a drug addiction, or even being involved with parole and probation on prisoner reentry and getting people back to work and getting people back into jobs. These are all things that are being done now that I don't think a lot of people realize, and I think the more that they learn, I mean, like I said, there can always be improvement, and we need assistance from everybody. Partnering with people who have different skill sets is a force multiplier, and it's a great thing for us. So we're open to any ideas, but I mean, I think some of them are just they're just not realistic.
And Chief, if you allow me, I'll just add on to your point from a previous conversation you and I had, and you're doing it all with fewer officers.
Yeah, that's correct.
We used to have a lot more police officers in Woonsocket than we have on the force right now, and you're doing so much more with fewer officers. People got to think about that.
Yeah, and that's just to make it clear, though. That's not what the mayor and the city administration supports me hiring more in the council. We're trying to get our numbers back up,
right.
But we've had people leave. Fortunately, that just brings up a good point. I did have, and it was kind of on the, again, a lot of things didn't get much attention because actually their academy for a while was actually cut short. But I did have 5 new officers come on, and they've gone through their initial field training, which is good, and now they're out on their own, starting their first probationary period. So it's a nice shot in the arm to get 5 good young officers that added to the force.
Good luck with those.
Very appreciative of it. And it's amazing, to be honest with you, in this day and age, there's a lot of people that are even saying to us, why would you ever want to get involved in law enforcement?
Yeah.
What's going on?
I truly believe, Chief, that the basic people only know probably maybe 25% of what police officers actually do.
Yeah,
I agree, Joe.
Yeah, and it's all that whatever they see on TV or all that's ever they see gets reported by the media, and that this is all they do, and they don't know everything else that police officers do.
I had that conversation one time with it was a Woonsocket police officer. I said, my goodness, I mean, you go to work every day, you do your best, and crime still happens. And he looked at me and he said, yeah, you're right, Dave. He says, sometimes it's like shoveling against the tide. Mm-hmm. He says, but what happens if you don't do it?
You get what happens in Seattle.
Right.
You get chaos.
What happens if you don't do it? He said, did you ever really read the history books about the Old West? We're not talking about the romance novels of the cowboys. We're talking about the settling of the West, where people would have 130 miles, and back in those days, 130 miles was like 1,000, right, to the nearest county seat where there'd be law enforcement. If you had a dispute with your neighbor, and they happened, you didn't have any police officers, and really bad things happened. And there was never any justice about it because there's just no way to administer it and watch it. So just think about that for a minute. And when you're talking about the wonderful men and women who have this sense of purpose in their heart of doing something that makes a difference for society, for strangers, and for their families, those are the kind of people who will pick up and earn a badge and go out there and enforce the law. It's because if you don't do it, worse things happen.
All right, we're going to take a break here in the Coffee AM program. It's time for a look at the forecast, which is being brought to you by Gas Buddy. Fuel better. Today, a mostly cloudy day with a high temperature near 85. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, low temperature around 64. Saturday's weather, mostly sunny, high near 88. Saturday night, mostly clear, low around 69. Sunday, mostly sunny, high near 92. Monday, mostly sunny, and a high near 96. Currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio on the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street under partly cloudy skies, we have 76 degrees. Hate paying too much for gas? Then you need Gas Buddy. Gas Buddy saves you money no matter where you fill up. Download the app or visit GasBuddy.com. Gas Buddy, fuel better.
Ed Carew here of the Carew Investment Group at 68 Cumberland Street in Woonsocket. Our telephone number is 765-8880. If you're looking for an investment firm that puts you first and works hard on your behalf, I'd like you to consider us. We're right here in Woonsocket, and we've been in business since 1987. So you don't have to go out of town for an experienced advisor, or work with an advisor based in Boston, New York, or who knows where. Someone you'll probably never meet. We encourage our clients to come to our office and sit down with us as often as they like. Why? Because we like to do business the old-fashioned way. We want to get to know you on a more personal basis so that we're more attuned to your financial needs. So if you're interested in speaking with us for a free, no-obligation consultation to find out how we invest your money, call us, Paul or myself, at 765-8880. Securities are offered through Bolton Global Capital, member FINRA and SIPC, and advisory services offered through Bolton Global Asset Management, a registered investment advisor.
I'm here with Kara Benjamin of the Benjamin Insurance Agency. Kara, what's most important to you as a business owner?
The most important thing to me as a business owner is to be there for my customers in the moment of truth. It's not just writing the policy and you're done. It's about being there for my customers when there's an accident, a fire, or even a death. Helping them get through tough moments in life. That's my job as an agent.
You're in good hands with Allstate and Kara and Celeste Benjamin of the Benjamin Insurance Agency, 125 Eddie Dowling Highway, across from Dowling Village in North Smithfield, 765-5000.
Our business is truly a referral business, and we have built it based on our premier service level and commitment to what we do. If you are looking for personalized service with people who care, that would be us.
Casey Kasem has unlocked the American Top 40 vaults and is replaying original shows from the 70s. This week, Casey takes you back to July 29th, 1978. That's when Michael Johnson was feeling bluer than blue. Barry Manilow was hanging out at the Copacabana, Andy Gibb was shadow dancing, and Jerry Rafferty was cruising down Baker Street. You'll hear those songs and all the top 40 hits from July 29th, 1978, right here on American Top 40, the 70s.
Join Casey counting them down this Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. right here on ON AM and FM, sponsored by Paul Vanas and Associates Real Estate in Lincoln.
American Top 40.
This portion of the Coffee and Program is sponsored by the Valley Breeze newspaper.
Is your business struggling to be found on Google? Are you still trying to figure out how Facebook works? Are you wasting your money on social media? Do you just need more customers? If you do, then contact the local digital marketing team at Breeze Digital Media in Lincoln. Breeze Digital Media has programs that are approved by Google and Facebook and are designed to grow your business. Packages start at only $199 a month and include easy monthly reporting so you know where your investment is going. Contact Breeze Digital Media for a free marketing analysis of your business today. Call 401-334-9555, extension 154, anytime, or visit breezedigitalmedia.com/offer.
It's Coffee In on ON Radio, 1240 AM, 99.5 FM. This is Joe Callahan here with Dave Richards, and Woonsocket Police Chief Thomas Oates is with us as well. And, Chief, does this ever cross your mind? Because it crosses mine when I see these protests that are going on around the country, and I take a look at these young people, mostly of African-American descent, and I'm thinking, if you think that the police department is so bad, why don't you join or try to join the police department and fix it from the inside?
I mean, we obviously try and recruit as much minority representation as we can to resemble the community.
Mm-hmm.
It's a job that, it's one of those callings. Some people want to do it, some people don't.
Yeah.
Don't want to do it. It's an individual choice. So yeah, we encourage that. We encourage it through the schools. We have that our Explorer program,
mm-hmm.
which has a variety of youth, both minority youth and also young ladies. And the hope for that is to show them what we do and make this a career that they would like to be involved in.
I look at it like this. I said, well, how can I tell you, Chief, how to do your job? I've never been a police officer, so how do I know what's best?
Oh, I wish a lot of people thought that way, or at least before they made an opinion on it, would ask them. But that's not the world that we live in. But it's something that there are changes that certainly are coming. The Rhode Island police chiefs put together a program, 20 for 20. These protests have opened a lot of discussion
mm-hmm.
Among the supervisors and actually the police chiefs in general about what we do, how we do it, and what the expectations of the public are. But what you said before, a lot of these things that they're talking about that they want done and changes that they want made, they don't realize they're already in place.
Yeah.
And to just not to divert from another subject, but we just again, this past March, we've been reaccredited, which is a great thing.
That's right.
For us, for the police department. And part of the reaccreditation, when they come in, they've looked at what we did. We got accredited in 2017 March, and then the process of reaccreditation is in some ways more difficult than the original accreditation
mm-hmm.
because you have to prove that you've been following all of these best practices and procedures. They actually have auditors come into our place and spent a day here on site, not counting days looking through computer records to make sure we're doing what we're doing. And we're following the best practices of modern law enforcement on a number of different things. For example, what you're hearing in a lot of these other places, choke holes in certain holes, those holes have been barred in Rhode Island through through our policies and procedures for years. So I mean, a lot of what people want to change, again, they don't realize that a lot of it's already there, and we're working. And like anything else, it's fluid. It certainly changes from year to year. Every major incident that happens, even as far as the awful like school shootings and some of those incidents, their critique is to see how we responded and what we did to improve. I mean, that's just one example of horrific events that police have to respond to. And how they responded to them 15, 20 years ago was completely different than how we respond to them now.
Okay, I was going to ask about the chokeholds, but you've already addressed that. The other thing that that these reform people want the police officers to do is they want like the younger police officers, the ones that have only been there, a few months, maybe a year, to be able to say to their superior officers, "Hey, I don't think you should be doing that." Now, do you find that realistic at all for young officers to critique or criticize their veteran officers?
It's not so much critique, but if they're doing they have a duty to report and a duty to stop, even if it's me. And I've said that at roll calls. I've said that at roll calls too. If they were to see me, if I were out at a scene and I were doing something, if I had unfortunately lost my temper or gone crazy for whatever it be, they need to stop me the same way that they would stop a fellow patrol officer, and it needs to be reported. Now, some people will say that, well, that's impossible. They're never going to do that.
Right. Some officers will.
I disagree with them. Disagree with them. Is it a difficult thing? Does it put them in a situation? But no, they're encouraged even to go out of their chain of command. If they have a supervisor or see a supervisor that's continually doing things wrong, whether they're acting in a biased manner or being abusive or whatever it is, they have an obligation to go outside the chain of command and notify somebody of that behavior.
Okay. Well, good.
How about some happy stuff here? You want to play a little game, Chief?
Sure.
Now, as a police chief, you've spent many years as a law enforcement officer. I'm sure you started off on a beat or in a patrol car or something else like that. And part of your training over the years, of course, is what Rhode Island law says. And then, of course, you have to busy yourself with the ordinances and statutes in the city that you're assigned to. Here's some interesting things. I'm going to give you a scenario, and you tell me what laws are broken or if any laws are being broken.
You're not going to make this too difficult, are you?
I don't think so, Chief, because these are little fascinating things that I've heard over the years, and I just wanted to bring them up, and then you can explain why the situation is the way it is. Okay, your brother-in-law ticks you off. At a family gathering, you poke him in the nose. Did you break the law?
You technically committed an assault. If someone wanted to bring it to that level to charge, they could. Probably wouldn't be good at the next Thanksgiving dinner with everybody there.
You're right. Yeah.
But I mean, technically, following the letter of the law, the assault is the unlawful touching of someone like that with intent, to harm them or injure them. So that's a ticklish situation.
Well, it is, because we could make it even more ticklish by saying, well, okay, your brother-in-law's wife, which would be, I guess, your sister, your sister, calls the police and reports the incident, but the brother-in-law says, "No, I had it coming." What do the cops do?
Well, I mean, we're put in that situation all the time. But part of the thing is on that, if it's domestic related, if it was the other way around, if the wife and the husband were having a back and forth, and the husband pokes the wife, and the police show, and even if he didn't mean to injure her, but did injure her, she's got a bloody nose. We have no choice but to arrest.
Yeah, things have changed over the years that way because it's gotten tighter and tighter in this century, where if you see any evidence, then you have to believe the side that said yes.
Even if she doesn't want to make the arrest or not, she's got no choice in that.
Right, yeah. That's some of the way some of the rules have changed. Okay, so you're driving down the street. It's a narrow city street. There's parking on both sides of the street on the street. And you've got like one lane going one way, one lane coming the other way, and you're driving down. There's a line of parked cars on your right as you drive slowly down that street. In front of you, just before you get there, one of the parked cars opens the driver's side door and you hit it. Who's at fault?
The person opening the door.
Ah, okay. They need to look.
You can't open a door into a travel portion of the highway until the area is clear. They're the ones that get the ticket on that.
Okay, you back out of your driveway, and there's a collision.
Mm-hmm.
Who's at fault?
The vehicle that's operating on the highway, on the roadway, has the right of way.
So the one backing up. Yeah.
Because it's against the law to back out into a roadway like that.
Well, even if he drove straight out, if he hit the vehicle that's moving, the vehicle that's on the main part of the highway has a right-of-way. It'd be failure to yield right-of-way.
These little things that people don't think about.
All right.
Seriously. I mean, they just don't they don't think about it. They say, hey, I'm moving here. You see me, you get out of the way. And that is a difference. The way I was taught when I learned to drive, and that was a number of years ago, Chief, is that you're responsible for everything in front of you. Now, you can't necessarily stop somebody from hitting you from behind unless you you put your brakes on precipitously and you jacked up, as they call it, in front of the car. Then you're pretty much left harmless. You might be contributory if you jacked up in front of a car that hit you. But basically, everything in your field of view in front of the car, you're responsible for.
Right. The catch-all for that is failure to maintain control. You're at all times you're supposed to be able to be in control of that motor vehicle to stop it, to avoid with collision, whether it's from hitting something in front of you or running off the road or whatever it is. So that's the catch-all charge for usually when crashes are involved would be failure to maintain control.
Okay, so here we go. Here's the I hope you enjoy these, Chief. Because here's the last one I'll ask you is that you're driving down the road, someone veers out in front of you, and so to avoid the collision, you apply the brakes, and you also feel you have to cross the center line and leave the your lane of travel because your lane is blocked and you may not stop in time. It's a decision you'd make instinctively, and you cross the center line. Are you still wrong?
As far as, you mean if you hit anybody, or I mean if you
okay. Well, let's just say in this particular case, but you hit somebody anyway. But it's clear that you tried to avoid it.
Well, no, you wouldn't be. I mean, see, on those type cases, we as the police sometimes don't decide. We would write the ticket and let the court make the court make the dismissal. But no, in a case like that where you show it wasn't intentional, he was avoiding something. But civilly, the person, you'd still be responsible for the person that you hit on the other side as far as that goes. But ultimately, it would go back to the person who caused the whole situation to happen. Would be that person who failed to yield the right of way and pulled out quickly in front of you. He would be the ultimate person that would.
So many times. Things don't fit the rules perfectly, and human judgment has to come into play. Am I right?
Yes, and that happens to us all the time on a lot of calls. And just like anything else, we're not there to witness certain events, or even a lot of times we get calls where there's a disturbance. One person says this, one person says that. It's a he says, she said. There's no signs of, say, physical injury or whatever it is. We make a judgment call on the best information that we have. We're human beings. Are we perfect? No. Are we going to make mistakes on some of them? Yeah, unfortunately, but hopefully that's a minimal number.
And that makes my point. I'll take human judgment even though it be flawed, over computers deciding things any day. That's why I want human beings on the police force.
All right. We're going to take a break in the Coffee Ant program right now. And this portion of Coffee Ant has been sponsored by the Valley Breeze newspaper.
When you want to know what's coming up in your town, there's news, as it's reported, and there are public notices. Public notices, also called legal ads, are placed by cities and towns in newspapers to alert you of important meetings that'll be coming up soon. At the Valley Breeze newspapers, you'll find public notices right up front, generally on page 4. They aren't tiny, hard-to-read ads in the back of the paper. In the Breeze, ads are easy to find and read. We want you to know. In addition, all public notices are placed online at valleybreeze.com, where they remain posted until the public meeting is passed. It's just the right thing to do. If you live in Cumberland, Lincoln, North Smithfield, or another local town, you'll find public notices in the Breeze every week and online at valleybreeze.com. Go to the homepage and click Public Notices. You'll find them all. Breeze public notices that will keep you informed, ahead of the crowd, in the paper and online. Thanks for noticing.
Tater bombs have arrived at the Gotta Tater trailer at Gotta Q Smokehouse Barbecue. Every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 2 to 7 p.m., you can sink your teeth into an awesome baked potato with your choice of up to 18 different toppings. There is also the burger bombs, hot dogs, Montreal poutine, and hand-cut fries at the Gotta Tater trailer. All at Gotta Q Smokehouse Barbecue, Sierra Plaza, Mendon Road, Cumberland. Tater bombs at Gotta Q.
Community Care Alliance is open. We know that social isolation is hard and that many people are facing financial uncertainty at this time. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, declining mental status, or with obtaining basic needs, please call our intake line at 235-7121. Be assured that safety is our utmost concern and safeguards are in place, including providing counseling by telehealth. Help is just a phone call away. Call 235-7121 to learn how we may assist you during this difficult time.
All right, it's Coffee Ant here on ON AM and FM. Joe Callahan here with Dave Richards and Woonsocket Police Chief Thomas Oates. Chief, I wanted to ask you about the flashing lights that we have on some of the streets so pedestrians can cross. That's been in place now for a number of months now. Is it still working out okay? Are people actually using it?
That's the new ones near the stadium, right?
Stadium in the
Kennedy
Kennedy Manor on Clinton Street and on Social Street.
No, I've seen them. I've seen them in use quite a bit, and
Good.
I mean, knock on wood, we have not, off the top of my head recollection, we haven't had a pedestrian struck in the downtown area since we did that road safety assessment last year.
Now, didn't we get those on spec, Chief?
What's that, Dave?
Didn't we get those on spec? I mean, we didn't have to go out and buy them and install them. I mean, there was some sort of a deal with the company that we try them out for a while and see if they worked.
Well, a lot of those were already in place that the mayor, before we even did the road safety assessment study, that the mayor and Director D'Agostino, they had the foresight where they were ordering them just because of the amount. We were getting complaints from Kennedy Manor and other places. Obviously difficult for them to cross the street, especially up on one Main Street also. So that was in the works. Before, and I don't know exactly where the funding came from on them, but I'm pretty sure that was a city initiative to get them in place, and that just dovetailed what the recommendations were for the road safety assessment part of that overall view and package.
There's a lot of people out there that think they can very easily figure out what's right and what's wrong, but the human condition we were talking about in the last segment really enters into almost every part of your life. You take Kennedy Manor. People would say, oh, of course we're going to stop for the crosswalk. Of course we should do this. And they probably intend to. But when you actually get there, your mind is distracted by other things, like John Cummings Way right in front over there. You're looking at that. Then the next thing your eye pops up to is the next intersection. See if it's green or red. Which lane do I have to be in? What the traffic like at that intersection? But in between, you're crossing over that crosswalk. And the people, it's just, unless you train yourself and you stop and think about it, don't look at the next intersection. Instead, look at the crosswalk at Kennedy Manor. So those lights kind of bring you into reality. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, and Dave, one of the key things, you're right, you're absolutely right. It's about humans making decisions. And I've been to the high rises. I've spoken to a lot of the older folks about that and, their complaints. And I say to them, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's the obligation of the motorist is supposed to stop when they see you standing at a crosswalk. But please, don't rely on them doing the right thing. They may not see you. They may be distracted. They may be that. Don't enter the roadway until you know the vehicle has come to a stop and sees you. So, you can control what you do. We can't control what somebody else a lot of times is going to do. So, taking that extra time, wait another 10 seconds, 15 seconds before you walk out is something that's very important that can have a dramatic effect on the rest of your life.
You don't have to have the radio on. You don't have to have the phone or the text or anything else like that to be distracted. You can be distracted by something that is on the roadway that you rightly should address with your attention.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. And I was driving through Greenville the other day, and I went right by a place because cars were not where they should be. Somebody was trying to change lanes. I focused my attention to the traffic in front of me. I didn't even see the place I had to turn off onto. Went right by because I'm paying attention to what's out in front. And so that and the Rotary. Oh, funny things. You must be getting these stories about the Rotary over there at the base of Vernon Street and the bypass. Funny stories. You still find people stopping.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things that you see all the time in some of the bigger complaints of people. That people don't. It's pretty simple. If you don't have the yield sign, then please slowly continue through. Make sure it's clear. But there are people who stop. So hopefully, the more they get used to that. I mean, that's something that's fairly new with DOT, but it has, from our perspective, made a difference. We don't get the crashes, and I couldn't pull statistics right now. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I just know that statistically, even if we do get crashes, they're at much lower speeds.
Of course, yeah.
Have people injured.
And there's much less damage and fewer consequences at a lower speed, that's for sure. But check me out on this, Chief. When you're going into what they call them roundabouts, they don't call them rotaries because rotaries are illegal. But when you go into the roundabout, are you supposed to use your directional if you're leaving the roundabout or staying in the roundabout?
I don't.
Nobody I see ever uses the doggone directional except for me. I'm a fool. I come down Vernon Street. I'm going over on, down to Social, so I'm going to take the bypass, and I actually have my right blinker on. But as I see people coming from Market Square toward me, I don't know if they're going to turn right and go up on Vernon Street, or if they're going to stay in the roundabout, and I have to yield for them. And we don't know till they actually get there, and it's a fairly small roundabout, so you don't have much time to figure it out. Are you supposed to use your directionals there? What does the law say?
No, you don't have. No, you don't have to. And what you should just be doing is, and people not getting used to it, the vehicle coming from the left has the right of way. If you just follow that, if you follow that guide, and you have just make sure that it's clear that there's nothing on your left, then you proceed through.
And that,
simple enough.
And that's crazy because when I was learning how to drive, they always said traffic coming in from the right always has the right of way. Don't you remember that years ago, Chief?
Yeah, it's still in effect.
That's before roundabouts.
At a four-way intersection, that is still the rule. The vehicle to the right has the right of way, but the designs of the roundabout is the vehicle moving on the left. So whatever direction you're coming into that roundabout on, you need to pay attention to what's on your left-hand side to see if anything's coming.
So don't use your directional signal, Dave, because you may confuse somebody else. Well, that guy looks like he's taking a right going up Vernon Street when you really want to keep going onto the bypass, and they may go, and an accident could occur. Well, you had your directional on.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trained that way. I always try to use directionals and signal what I'm about to do, what my intention is, so everybody else knows.
And you're right, Chief. People have got, drivers have got to be. You just got to get used to the different signals. And I'm thinking of those flashing signals at the crosswalk because I've been driving down Social Street, and those lights go off. I mean, way down. And as you're still going, as the driver, you think, "Hey, look at those flashing lights. I wonder what that means." But you're still moving.
Yeah.
And then it takes a few seconds. Oh, that means someone's in the crosswalk, and I need to slow down.
Yeah. Well, there's some things you can't do anything about.
Yeah.
One of my pet peeves is that when you're out driving at night, the high-intensity lights that they use on the cruisers nowadays, they're very, very bright, very, very startling because they're LED. They come on and off much faster and and they're very distracting. If I want to see where I'm driving, it's tough sometimes when you got the cruiser flashing right in front of you. But, I mean, what are you going to do? Everybody does their best, and hopefully everybody gets home safe. You can't have everything the way you want it.
That's right. Chief, we are coming down to the end of the program here. You just mentioned earlier that you have 5 new police officers that have just joined the force. Will you be having a new class starting at sometime soon? Are you taking applications now? Where do things stand there?
What happened is just prior to the state shutting down in March, we were scheduled to we were in the process of running testing, and we had actually over 180 people sign up for the written test.
Wow, that's great.
So that written test is now going to be given in the next 3 to 4 weeks, so that we will be creating. They have to do the written test, then there's an agility test after that, and then there's an interview process. But the bottom line is we'll be developing a list of people that we can hire off. So that all got pushed back. I do have one officer who is going into the academy who was involved in the last process and had cleared everything. So I've only got one recruit that starts next Monday, as a matter of fact, in this next academy session. So, yeah, the long I made a long answer out of a short one. Yes, we are. We're going through our process now and creating a list.
What do they do? Call 762-1212?
The application process is all shut down, Dave, because what it was is, we were advertising at the end of last year into the beginning of the year, had closed the application process. We're ready to administer the exam.
I'm sorry. So you were saying that you're processing those who already applied.
Right, exactly. So the application process is stopped, but we did receive and processed over 184. So we have right now somewhere over 180 people that are eligible to go take the test, which we're going to administer in the next few weeks.
Okay.
Very good. We've come to the end of the program, so we thank you all for listening in. And Woonsocket Police Chief Thomas Oates, thanks for joining us today. Always a great time talking with you.
Nice to talk to you and Dave, Joe.
All right, you have a great day.
Thank you, Chief. Take care. God bless.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, Dave, thanks for coming by.
Hey, it was a lot of fun today. Thanks.
Yes, it was. Have a great day, everyone. Go Red Sox.
You bet.
And this is Joe
Red
Callahan.
Sox all the way, buddy.
That's right.
Hey,
is Gene in there?
Yeah, Gene's in there, but it's funny. Of all